Hey everyone, how are you doing this evening? My name is Sharon Combs with UCDI Leadership and Do Something Daily LLC. Tonight, I just want to thank you for joining Knowledge and Nonsense. We have an all-star cast, and we're going to talk about isms within the systems. And tonight, we're going to focus maybe on some isms that have to do with sexism. There may be some other isms in there that we encounter. But I just wanted to invite these women on tonight. Each of them are rock stars in their own right. They have proven it through the course of their life by maintaining and staying, and some of them even made it to retirement, but they have proven it by being able to stay in. And so there's some things they've experienced and some takeaways they have that they're going to share with us. And without further ado, we're just going to jump in and ask a couple of questions, how we do, and then later we'll get into introductions for everyone on site. If you have any questions, please put them in the comment bar. Please feel free to share this video. So let's just jump in, ladies. We're in some crazy time. We're not crazy. We're in changing times right now. There's a lot going on inside and outside. And so what are some of the patterns that you've seen in your work field? What are some of the patterns that you've seen where you know that you had to navigate differently based on who you are? I'll just put it like that. It's always fun for the first question. I like, who goes first? I'll just throw Rashida out there. Hi, Rashida. How you doing today?
I'm well, thank you. Thank you for having me. So there's so many patterns and so many things that are, happening right now that, where we just don't feel taken care of. As a nurse, I'm an independent nurse. I'm contracted with my state to do in-home care in adult family homes. And throughout this process, we just feeling not taken care of, where we're out there and they're like, well, your risk is relatively low. So, we don't have any PPE for you, and whatever you're going to figure out, you figure out on your own. And it's been a challenge in that, right? Certainly I've makeshift PPE. We're nurses, so we makeshift all kind of stuff. I've turned all kinds of things into things for patients. So I just kind of had to do it for myself, which was, it was a little daunting. And I just felt, not taken care of. And, it's one of the things that we complain about a lot, where nurses we're the last one to get what we need. And that's been increasingly frustrating. I will say that COVID has shined a great light on that and given us some really, a really good platform to be able to speak to all of the things that we've needed over time that historically they just weren't willing to give us. And now people are listening, and that's really great.
Okay, so along those lines, so you said not feeling really taken care of and that you've had to makeshift some things. Do you feel like your experience, like the length of time you've been in, any of you, definitely as far as being a female, that there are some skills that you that's the wrong word. There's some skills you gained, a certain skill set that you've mastered of getting your needs met without waiting, quote unquote, for the system to provide it, or even being able to request what you need. Like, I know, hi, Melanie, tell me about how you request your needs now versus how you requested your needs when you started. You come out, you're eager to work, you're glad to get a check. Yeah.
Well, so, and it kind of goes to your initial question about the pattern. Is it repeating itself? We're in 2020, but for me, it's like 1990. But
Wow.
what worked well for me, especially in corporate America, is I was an athlete, and I'm still very interested in athletics and sports. And so you have to find a common ground. And if you can talk basketball 30 years ago, if I could talk about Michael Jordan or talk about LeBron James today, that's going to get the attention of probably that male who's the decision maker. And so it sort of removes some barriers, find a common ground, and then that person may do a favor for me or be more willing to push things forward.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, excellent. I like that. Anyone else? Some skill sets that you've had to master to be able to communicate or get your needs across?
Well, I can speak to that somewhat. In my career, I started out, I was always the youngest. So it was an ageism on the different end of the spectrum. And I didn't know how to ask for anything. I just took and did what people told me to.
Wow.
Like Melanie, I'm very interested in sports and competitiveness. And so as the years went on and I was working in sterile processing and then also in the operating room, we get a little bit more sassy, I will say, or more able to articulate our needs. Then as the years progressed and I was in industry, it was a whole different ballgame from being a clinical provider on the front lines and being a clinical educator and a clinical resource for industry. And their rules were very different. So asking for what I wanted to, the way we talk in my world, which is the operating room, which is very life or death, was not appropriate. So I learned to ask for things in yet a different way. And all along that path, and even to now where I am doing independent consulting versus working for someone, I'm fortunate to be able to do that. It ebbs and flows as to what's appropriate and what's not appropriate based on who I am and who the audience is. So it's an interesting ride, and I think we can all agree that depending on where you are working and what the culture is, asking for things can be very, very different.
Mm-hmm.
All right. When I started, I know I was just like, whatever. I was kind of like you, Marilyn, whatever.
Yeah,
They said it, I came and I was like, this is how we're supposed to dress. This is how it's supposed to be.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm a literal person.
Mm-hmm.
Like, so sometimes people tell a joke and I'll be like, yeah, why are we laughing? Because I was just so, it's gonna do it right, gonna save the world, everything.
Right.
And so I didn't ask. Was just so glad to have the job. I dealt with a lot of imposter syndrome. Like, so if somebody did what was expected, I might do like 3 or 4 times because I was like, I got to study it and all that. And now, I'm not where you ladies are. I'm trying to get where you ladies are. But now I definitely don't do that. I'm just like, okay, what's fair? Like, be real. What's fair?
That's perfect.
You don't have to have a heart attack. Did you give 150? Okay, then you sleep well at night on that. And so, but I had to, for me, I learned it for me, I feel like it was almost a life or death matter. I was sleeping and my shoulders would be around my ears, that type of thing. There's a lot of stress and I just was like, this isn't fun. This isn't what I signed up for. Regardless of any financial attachment to it, it didn't work for me. And so definitely I had to learn how to do other things. Dr. Martin, what's on your mind?
Well, I was just listening. One of the key words I heard Marilyn say, and I think even Rashida and Melanie pulled into it, is when you're looking at the organization you're in, you look at the culture of the organization. And especially, I want to say, even in nursing, I know this is for a fact. And Melanie, I know in corporate America, there's a hierarchical line that you have to follow. And so what you have to do is go tap in and look at the culture of the organization to be able to ask for what you want to ask. Some people had an easier time of asking if they had that mentor and that champion pulling them along to be able to do it. A lot of us, however, that were coming up in the back didn't look like those that were high potentials. We didn't act like that. So what we had to do is we had to pull our personality in so that we wouldn't, the assertiveness wouldn't be seen as an aggressiveness and would not intimidate the male of that, of whoever was in charge or who that champion was. So I think that that's very key even today when we look at things that have not changed, is we still have to go in and be able to really be spot on with discerning what that organizational culture is, who we need to get behind, who's the mover and the shaker in there. And so I think that's one of the things that when we look at what's still the same, that's a very frustrating thing to everyone who comes into whatever the systemic organizational may be. I think that that's really key. And that's really tough in navigating if you don't have anybody pulling you along to help you.
Absolutely. Yeah.
For the women here on this panel, did you have a mentor, or did you have to figure it out kind of ad hoc?
I'll jump in and say I was not aware that a mentor was needed, because there are certain segments in organizations that don't get all the information. And exactly. So that's one thing I wish that I had or was at least made aware of early in the game. But since I am a mentor for other people now.
Amen. That's awesome. Awesome. Yeah. So and you saw the gap and you filled it. That's awesome. That's Melanie Farley. Melanie Farley, everyone. Melanie Farley.
Melanie Farley.
Yes. I think it's the same way. When I worked for a huge, one of the largest organizations in Oklahoma, they did not have mentors and things. So what you did is you walked up to the people that you admired and said, do you have some words for me? Can you speak to me? And then later on, thank God we had a great CEO that brought in a good diversity program, and we were able to put in place a mentoring program, a high potential, high spotting potential mentoring program for women, because he really was behind the women. So we were lucky with that.
Mm-hmm. How about Marilyn? Is that similar? Is that
as far as mentoring? I think in the beginning, the mentor, like we did not have a formal program, but you found that one person that you could connect with that would help you along the way. Because throughout my life, whether it was sports or whether it was work, it was team. And I was fortunate I thrive in a team atmosphere, although we know that that's not always going to be the case. But when you find that one person that takes a personal interest in you when you're just starting out and brings you forward and makes you passionate about what you're doing. And then as Melanie said, then once I felt how hard that was to find initially, then I became that person that wanted to nurture people along. And in fact, then I became an educator in my later years. So that's very much my passion.
Excellent, excellent. I did want to ask this question because I know that tonight, like I said, we're going to talk a lot bit about sexism, but listen, for those who are out there, we're looking at the isms within systems. You have so many systems: healthcare system, education system, the social system, entertainment system, government systems, religious systems. There's so many systems out there, and there are isms within each system. And in a perfect world, it shouldn't be, but we all know the reason our world is perfect is because it's not. And so you have to learn how to navigate certain things. Certain things education can help, and certain things education may not help. So I want to say, what are some things you women have seen, you ladies, you professionals have seen that works in navigating, like for someone who's coming new to the workforce and navigating sexism? We're looking at the origins, the patterns, and identifiers. Because sometimes you can say something is an ism, but if you haven't done your due diligence and you haven't done what's expected or the job description, like for me, I'm a female. I think I have a pretty smile. That's just me. I do believe that. And so if I want my smile to work for me so that I don't have to work, then I can't be mad when somebody, I can't be mad if I set the terms, and not just my smile, like how you doing. You ladies know what I'm saying. Stop playing. Stop playing. So I can't be upset when I want to play something up, when I want to play it up, but then if it comes differently. So when you're talking about sexism, I want to be sure that we're looking at, and no always means no for whoever's listening. I don't know why I want to say that, but I just want to put that out there. No always means no. It's no. But if somebody's just coming to the workforce, what are some things that you could help them, or some ways you've seen people navigate what could be sexism? Because some young person may not know that this is actually grooming behavior or setting you up.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they may not know. How do I say that? I think I've said it as best as I could. I referee basketball, and there's a certain time at a party when I know it's time for me to go. Drinks are flowing. I know, hey, in a perfect world, I should be able to stay till 3 a.m. with all the guys. But for me, I know, oh, okay, that's my key. Good night, everyone.
Right.
I know when it's time to leave the room. And so for someone who's just coming in, as it relates to sexism, what are some ways you've seen people navigate, or what are some things you would say to someone who's just coming to the workforce and they just want to do their best? And so to help them navigate what may or may not be sexism, what are identifiers? That was a long question.
Well, I think the first part of it is education, right? I think that too often young ladies are taught to lead with, you know, the pretty smile and the nod and agree with, you know, kind of any and everything. And, you know, we're not always taught that when our gut says this is not a situation I need to stay in and it's time for me to exit stage left, that I need to exit stage left. Right. And sometimes those are things that they're not taught at home. And so we don't even reinforce them professionally because they're kind of taboo topics. We don't really talk about sexism until it happens to somebody. Right. Like, oh, that was sexism. But we didn't quite prepare, you know, our incoming generation for what this may look like, especially as the young newcomer who's going to be the person looking for a mentor and possibly thinking that this person really just has taken an interest in me because I am, you know, a great whatever this is. I'm a great asset because I'm able to do X, Y, Z. I went to the best school. I did whatever that is. And so I think that as women, we have to start having those conversations and calling a spade and really educating, you know, our young women who are going into workforces. And that's the importance of going back to having a mentor, right? For those conversations to be had. And not where we're naming names and saying, you know, John is prone to this or you know, Jenny is prone to that, but really just educating on what it looks like. So often in many things, we don't educate on what grooming looks like in many arenas. We don't talk about what grooming looks like, and it looks like something. It has a tail, and that's for sure. And we just don't discuss it. So I think for me, that's the big thing is really let's get that out there and have that conversation. And that's what's important about this conversation tonight is that we get to speak this and talk about it in a way that is one, safe, but two, it's educational. Whoever's watching gets to, you know, kind of pick up on these things and go, wow, I didn't even know that this is a conversation that we should be having.
Right. That's good.
Yeah. Is everyone familiar with grooming? I feel like we are, whether we know it or not. Okay. Yeah. I was an adult before I was aware of what grooming actually was. Yes. And so if you don't know what it is, you'll do a lot of internalizing that maybe you don't have to do. But if you know that it has a name, oh, this is a thing. This is a thing. This isn't me. I'm not crazy. This is actually a thing. And so you kind of want to know those identifiers. And that's why I said like origins, patterns, and identifiers so that maybe we can save someone else some time, some undue anguish, something like that.
That's good. Yeah.
Marilyn, did you have something you wanted to say?
Well, I was just, as I reflected on this question that you proposed to us, I was thinking about how a lot of times in the workplace, and again, I've been in industry most recently, but also in the hospital setting, they tell us what to look for as far as those sexism things that we're supposed to all watch out for and all, you know, get up in arms about, but they don't tell us what to do when it happens. Wow. So you're supposed to be aware of it, but what kind of training, real life training do you have on who to go to, You're always afraid to go to your boss if you're the youngest. We're talking about the youngest here. You don't want to be that troublemaker. You don't want to be, but there's not, it seems like we need to define a pattern of what do you do with this information when you have it. I think that's what I've seen most with the young people coming up now. They're very confident, they're very smart, but yet they've never had that real life experience of somebody doing something that out of the ordinary to them or around them, and then they don't know where to go with it, and they often mishandle it.
And don't you think it's interesting that we teach them Title VII, we teach them sexual harassment training, we teach them what they're supposed to do, because all organizations, that's federal law, they have to do it, right? But when it happens to them, we've got an HR person that is really afraid of, who the and then we've got
that part.
And we've got the male counterpart, and then we've got the female counterpart that's trying to climb the ladder that says, don't make waves. So we're not really consistent in letting them know, look, this is something that you don't have to put up with. And these are laws. These are serious laws. That, if there is retaliation, then you can file a lawsuit. And then, like you said, especially the young ones don't, they're afraid to really step out there and say that. So I'm excited because I'm in learning and development, organizational development, but my background is HR. So I let everybody know, you got an issue, you come to me and we will step it up. Because I'm old enough where I don't care anymore. Seriously, because I've been sexually harassed. I was there. I was the young one. Someone reached up my skirt. At that point now, no one had taught me protocol, and I need him in the, that was a long time ago, but now I'm so passionate about it that we've, like you said, with that pattern, we have to identify the pattern, but we have to hold people accountable, you know what I mean? To let them know, listen, we're teaching, you're not just going to say it, you are going to act it too. I'm sorry, I get a little passionate about this because I've seen so many people, you know what I mean, just get moved over and stepped over and run out because they didn't understand their rights. So that's usually when I'm standing up going, you know what, I don't really care what you say or what you think. We are going to handle this. And here's the law, here's the title, here's the article, and there's a lawyer. So yeah. Sorry.
Okay.
So if I could just put a little bit in there, the challenge with that today is that everything is just over sexualized. And so the lines are blurred. So because breast and hips used to be like taboo and we used to be covered up, and now everything is out there. So that I think is a fine line, but I do agree with what Rashida said. It's about education and your instinct and gut. And so if younger people coming up, if they have a mentor, if they have someone they can talk to and trust and say, this is what actually happened, then we can coach and counsel them, because again, the lines are blurred in today's society.
Yeah. You hit on quite the topic, Melanie, because I think a lot of the younger, it's popular today to wear things that probably somebody my age, which I'm at the upper end of the spectrum, would never have thought was attractive to wear to work, but yet they don't know that it's not. I saw a young lady today she was obviously applying for a job at the grocery store, and she was dressed very inappropriately, but she didn't know better. She didn't know better. I don't know how we can reach to that level. Yeah. In my industry, it's easy because everybody wears scrubs.
Right.
But,
yeah.
That is.
I think we've gotten away from some of the things that, our 4-H clubs used to teach. I remember being in 4-H club and, learning what to wear to an interview and, how to properly dress for an office. And I think that those things have, they're lost on this new generation because they're kind of in the, whatever, do whatever, I've seen some things at the church house that I was like, so I think that we've gotten away from, teaching professional dress and professional attire. And I'm in the Pacific Northwest, where professional, you know, is corduroys and one of those short sleeve button up Oxford shirts. And I wasn't raised that way. I was raised a little bit more conservative. So when I get, you know, dressed for an office, it looks different. And so I've seen so many though that go in and, you know, they're like, I don't know what to wear. I don't have anything that even remotely resembles, you know, what some of the things I've seen on television or, you know, that people are wearing. So I think we have to really get back into, you know, what professional standard are we wanting to start off with and then maintain going forward, so that attire doesn't become a distraction. And you know, let's be clear that nothing I wear as a female invites or asks for any form of sexual harassment or misconduct or full-on rape. That's a myth. If that's who you are that person, and not my dress, my skirt is going to make you that person. That's just what you choose. But I do think that there are things that are just lost on this generation when it comes to professional attire and what that looks like, how to get some of it at a discounted cost if you're, you know, just starting out of college without a whole lot of budget. So I feel like, you know, we need to get back into some of those things. And I think that before our students graduate, they should have a little class on, you know, what professional attire looks like and where they can find it if they don't have it. I think that that's important, but it's something that, you know, it is lost on a lot of people. They don't know. I've had many young people ask me, what am I supposed to wear? They have no idea.
Yes, I don't.
What is 4-H?
4-H is a club that they used to have back in, I'm not that old, but they're still doing it.
Yep.
Yeah. Last year at AORN, there was a huge conference in Anaheim.
That is
all
awesome.
4-H.
So they teach kind of soft skills, interview skills, life skills. Like it's just kind of a compilation program that at one time you can enroll your kids in at like a local community center, and they taught job readiness, you know, how to do a basic resume when you never had a job before. So looking at, you know, skills you've gained inside your house and, you know, chores that you've done, just all sorts of things that they kind of taught, and you just put them together and it prepares you to go out into the workforce.
Okay. When I was like, because maybe some people don't know what 4-H is. And I was like, okay, I've heard of 4-H, but I was never a part of 4-H. So yeah, I was like, all right, what's that about? So yeah, okay, good. Hey, let's take a break. This is a good conversation. Thanks so much. It flies by. We're at 27 minutes. It flies by. It just goes. Yeah, because people don't know. So we've hit some things like a lot of like younger people may not know what to wear. You know what I'm going to ask you that's not on the list? Because Marilyn, you said, how do we reach there? You know, because we do live in a generation where people are a little more vocal about what they want. And you can come off, you know, I mean, no, I don't think any of our names are, never mind. I was going to say something about Karen, but you could really try to help somebody younger than you, and it could be taken wrong. Who are you to speak on their dress? And so again, how do we navigate these things? How do we navigate it? One of the questions I want to ask is, what would you say like to your daughter, to your niece, or to somebody as they were coming into work? But we're gonna do a commercial first, and then we'll be right back. And we're back. So yes, how do you say something to your niece, to your daughter? What do you say to them? When they're going into the workforce, and what do you say to them when someone does come at them based on sexism? And I think sexism too is not just where somebody wants quid pro quo or wants to do something to you physically, but sometimes you can actually be beautiful. Maybe somebody is that something called beautyism? Where like maybe you look a certain way and people are just upset about it, so they want to make your life unduly hard. Like what would you say to someone close to you? And I would like if it's possible for everybody to kind of weigh in on this. Like what would you say to someone that you're really vested in and you want them protected, but you also want them to succeed? What do you say to those individuals? Go ahead.
Can I start?
Yes, yes.
I have a 24-year-old, and she is quite beautiful, and she works at a call center, and she's got bubbly personality, and she's definitely a millennial. You know, she don't want to hear how to dress or do anything like that. But it's so interesting because there's a plethora of generations around her. But what she's seeing is she is being, and for lack of a better word, prejudiced against because she's bubbly, her personality, she's caramel colored. And so what's happening is the women, the ladies there, you know, are really coming against her. You know, who do you think you are? You think you think you know everything, blah, blah, blah. And she just comes home sometimes crying because you know, people are talking about her, you know, and I know that we have even at what we're in now, as far as the, you know, standing up and the you know, racism and different things. And I try to tell her that even in her race, because she's light, because her hair is long, because she can flip it around, there's still a stigma toward her. And she's really having a hard time you know, to show who she is and trying to get up, you know, trying to make it past that first step. And so what I tell her all the time is, seriously, you know, you got to hold your form. You got to pull your emotions in, be able to tell, you know, you're not there to have friends. You're there to make a difference and to try to, you know, start plotting your way forward. And anyway, so if you guys have anything to help me say to her with that, because I say it, but it seems sometimes when a mom says it, you know, they don't want to hear it. And, you know, hindsight is better than you know, foresight. So I do tell her, just really hold your form, be focused, meet your goals, and keep moving. And know that that's not your last place of employment. That's only your first place to get your foot in the door.
Yeah, I definitely agree, of course, with hold your form. I think too often we do internalize what other people view us as or see us as, or the things that they wish to put on us. But, you know, I've told my own daughters, I have 2 adult bonus daughters that are 27 and 24. And I have told both of them in very similar situations, you know, what's happening is more about that person than it is about you. There's something about you, the light in you, that causes that person to feel dim. And it's not that you're doing anything to them, but sometimes when your own light, you don't feel like it's as bright as it should be, or you're not where you think you should be, you project, you know, and you're projecting that inability to get to where you wanted to as fast as you wanted to, or whatever that is, onto this other young person who's, you know, now the new young person who's come in and kind of captures attention. And if she's captivating, and bubbly people are always captivating, and people are always drawn to them because we love positivity. That's just kind of the human form.
Right.
And so, you know, I would tell her to continue to be her. Strength of character is something that you can't buy, and it's something that will cause you not to break, and it won't let you fold. It'll be something that sometimes you have to sway, but you'll never break and you won't fold. So to continue on in being strong in who she is, and really understanding that the light that's in her is bothering other people, but that's okay, because her light should never dim for anybody else.
That's good. That's good. That's
So
good.
I have a millennial also, and so the teaching started 28 years ago with her, right? And it's every day. But I do think the preparation and the anticipation. So there are scenarios that I'll set up for her and it's been this way her whole life. So you're going to get there, and this is going to happen. And 9 out of 10 times, whatever I say does happen. So there's the trust that's built. So when this happens, you want to do this. When that happens, you want to do this.
That's good.
Yeah, so that helps a lot. And then the other part of this question I want to answer, we were talking about preparing them to go into the workforce, how they dress and how they behave. My response to that is I have to remind my daughter that, yeah, I understand that there are more millennials than any other group right now. I get that. But the old school people, they're making all the decisions. So you don't have all the power right now. Maybe in 10 years, this whole thing is going to change. I get that. But right now, for what you're trying to do, you're going to have to adhere. So the way you dress, the way you speak, all of those things are going to have to, you're going to have to march a little differently because of who's in control.
That's good.
That's good.
Yeah.
Hey, I just want to take a moment right now and say thanks so much. We have Marilyn Burns with us. She's worked within the sterile processing and the OR for over 30 years. Her information, you'll see it going across the bottom with the ticker. If you want to reach out to her, she does consulting. We have Melanie with us. She's been in corporate America over 30 years, sales management, recently here consulting and FPD as well. Dr. Kathy Martin, probably about the same amount of time in organizational development. I know you hail out of the oil and gas industry. You guys heard a little bit earlier today saying she's well aware of HR and HR laws and how things work. And also we have with us Rashida Hatchett. Rashida's out there in Seattle. She also is an RN. Rashida, you have your own company now, right? Don't you do your own company? She has her own nursing company. And so Rashida's been sharing with us not just about sexism, but also about different things within nursing. So we may bring you back actually to talk about some of the things with just some of this post-COVID stuff. Man, it's been so crazy. I'm telling you, it's been so eye-opening. Yet I digress. I just wanted you all to know who we have here today. Feel free to ask any questions. Please share this video. And again, we're talking about breaking the glass ceiling because each and every one of these women have navigated successfully. They may not feel like it sometimes. They may have some bruises and some humps and some lumps. You know, they may be walking with a limp at times, but they have navigated successfully remaining in these fields where you're sometimes you may be one of a few, you know, and so you have to learn how to sit at the table because maybe if you do something that your counterpart does, it may come off wrong. Like I know that I am a Black woman, so if I'm frustrated about something, I may be labeled as angry. But even if I wasn't a Black woman, if I was just a female, period, if I was assertive, I could still be called a B. You know, like it's different. Like different things have different associations, and so you have to navigate. You know, you can fuss and be like, "That's not fair." It's not. So please change the laws, get out and vote. But in the meantime and in between time, you have to navigate. And so thank you, ladies, so much for being with us. We have a question from a gentleman here. He said, what message would you share with a father to empower his daughters? I'm going to sit back. On that one. You ladies go ahead. I'm going to hold my form and sit back on that one right there. What would you say to a father to empower his daughters? I would say lead by example. I would say teach and show your daughters how a real man is to treat a woman. And and I would just continue to encourage. That's what I would do. Excellent. Rashida?
I would say, you know, as a father, you have one of the most amazing roles in a young lady's life, and you are her first example at how she's treated by a male of any kind, whether it's one she's in contact with for work or, you know, for personal relationships, friendships, or romantic relationships. And you have the great example of you being who you are to her is going to give her a lot of what she needs in order to really navigate how to deal with men in any arena. So, you know, making sure that that example that you're showing her is what you want her to receive. So if you're stepping back and looking at the way you all interact and it doesn't quite feel like if somebody else were to interact with her this way, you would be pleased with that, then changing it. and making sure that, you know, the way that you interact with her is the way that you expect every other male on the planet to interact with her, and the great amount of respect that you show her is what she's going to then expect from someone else, and she won't expect anything less. So, you know, you just want to make sure that as a man, you've given her that example, you know, on a day-to-day, in and out, every hour that you're with her, she knows that this is the kind of man that that is a stand-up guy. And this is what I'm looking for when I'm looking at anybody that I'm dealing with. I am looking for, you know, these great character traits. And if they treat me in a way that's outside of that, you know, that's where my spidey sense goes off. And I start to feel like this is not going to be, you know, a good situation, whether it's a business partnership, professional relationship, or otherwise.
Yep. Part of me wants to say, yeah, what she said. And then part of me wants to build on that, because that was awesome information. I think as a father also, the thing that you don't want to do when you're wanting to empower your daughters is to just tell them these things that they should accept and then not challenge them to understand what's happening to them. And I think sometimes to empower them, you have to say, when they come home and you know, something silly like, that boy looked at me funny and he thinks I'm too tall. I'm very tall. He thinks I'm too tall and I'm ugly because I'm tall. Whatever they say, you need to be that father who says, you know, not everybody's going to think you're beautiful. I think you're beautiful, and there's somebody out there that thinks you're beautiful. But also, you want to be respected. And here's what you need to do to earn the respect of people who are your detractors. Because I think a lot of times in the scenarios, especially in today's world, you see the fathers building up their daughters to a high expectation, but not telling them how to earn that that love or that feeling from somebody else, because I think that's where sometimes we really miss the boat. I have 4 daughters, and you just want to make sure that they understand that it's not just about being adored and being treated well. It's also about earning that right.
That's good. That's good. Thanks so much. Anyone else on that before I ask another question?
I 100% agree. I also would say this, that as a father, make sure that you're knowledgeable in several areas and you're not running by your emotions, because logic actually is a good thing for a father to teach a child. And I totally agree with everybody that said everything, but once you teach your daughter you've got the issue, now how do I go about solving this issue, and letting them learn from their mistakes, letting them figure things out, because that's a really good way to teach them how to function in this world. So many times, like the lady said, so many times we want to fix it for them, that as a father, you don't really want to fix it for them all the time, but you want to teach them how to, I think the word was used several times, navigate this world and to be successful in that. And I think that as a father, showing that and leading them through those experiences, that can help them be prepared for when it's time to turn them loose in the world.
Okay. Earlier today, when we were going through some of the questions, somebody had mentioned, like, when you get that feeling, or if this is the case, like when it's time to like leave that job, what would you say to someone if that is actually going to be the best scenario, you know, but you want them, because when it's time to leave a job, you know, you have every fear that you had when you were trying to get the job. Hey, you know, if you've been working on something, nobody wants to work on something and not complete it, or work real hard and now somebody else, you know, you're like, man, I've been working for this. How do you help someone when actually, and all I'm thinking about is this movie, the Blonde Bombshell movie. I didn't really know what the movie was about, and I went to go see it. Okay, well, it is a movie, I guess, about these journalists back in the day, some people at news stations, and there was a whole culture of sexism. And so literally, in order for people to get the anchor jobs, there were some things, and everybody knew. And so I didn't know about that, and I ended up watching that movie, and it was heartbreaking. And what was heartbreaking was the damage that I saw that it did. And that's a movie. but in real life too, the damage that it does to people when they're on the wrong side, or like they do capitulate, you know, like they give in, and it's like something breaks in them. And so, not saying that they're broken and not saying that they actually capitulated, but for those who, you know what, you do kind of, you know what, you need to let that job go. Like, that's not worth it. You're better than what's going on right now. And if you don't get the support, or the person in HR is just as afraid of the person, you know, like we said earlier, how do you help, how will we help young professionals navigate that? Like, how will we help young professionals approach that, you know, their exit strategy, so to say? Because you don't always want to storm out of a job. You can know that you're leaving before you leave. What are some ways that we can help? You got that right, Rashida? You don't always have to storm out of a job. You know, you can leave months before you leave, sometimes weeks before you leave. So how do we help people approach that when it's like, okay, the support is not there, this is a toxic place, this is not safe. And just because, you know, sometimes the structure that's in place, that culture, I might not be the person to change this, and I don't want to deal with litigation. How do I go on my merry way? Like, how do we help people approach that, the young professionals?
Well, I think the first thing it starts with is their mindset, right? Like, you know, with so many things, it's mindset. You know, they have to be in a place where they're open to releasing things that no longer serve them. And so you've got to be open to that. And once you get to that place of openness where you're like, okay, I'm over this and I'm ready, you know, at that point, then it's just being strategic about what that move looks like, and how you're going to be able to do that and get whatever it is that you're needing to get from that employer. And I did it once, where I worked 2 jobs. I left the job, but I wasn't quite gone. They still needed to finish paying for my education, and I needed a bonus that was coming. And so I didn't leave before that happened, because why would I do that? And so I worked 2 jobs. One job I worked during the day, the other one I worked at night, in order to exit and finish out what I needed to get from the job. But I also knew that it was a place where I could not stay. And that's why I had set up my exit strategy the way that I did it. But I do think that it's important to, you know, realize for sure, does this still serve me? And if this job is not serving me, if I'm so stressed out that I can't do anything when I get off of work, I've got the migraines that are staying, you know, the panic attacks that are coming on the way in, and those things are real for people. And so when that's happening, really taking inventory of your life and saying, what will I accept and what won't I? And once it comes to your health, I always say that's a place where that should be a no-go. You know, once it begins to affect your health, it is time to get out, and it's time to set up your exit strategy. But really giving people permission that there's nothing wrong with leaving a place that is toxic, and there's nothing wrong with, you know, getting out as quickly as you can, but in a respectful manner, to say, I'm putting in my notice, but I am leaving when it just doesn't serve you any longer, and to stay is going to be detrimental to you.
Okay. Anyone else? Okay.
Well, you also need to have a plan. So once you make up your mind, right, this is not good for me, I need to go. One of the things that I used to do is put up my pros and cons. You know, pro, I need to have that money to pay my bills. Con, they are crazy, you know. And then what that did for me at the time was really start putting a plan into place. Well, can I stay here, you know, another 3 months? You know, like Rashida was saying, can I stay here another 3 months and while I'm planning to find this job? Because the one thing that was hammered into me more than anything was, if it's something that is going to affect your health or your safety, you get out and you think later. But if it's something that you can stand and you're paying bills and you have responsibilities, you need to have a job before you leave a job. So have your plan in place. And if you need somebody to help you with that plan, reach out to somebody that can kind of see the whole picture and help you navigate. I need to do this, step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4, and then follow your plan, execute that plan, and make that move.
Yeah, my first comment would be to take the emotion out of it. Take the emotion out completely and make do some fact-based decision making. Let's deal with the facts And normally when you drill down, it may not be as bad as you think it is, or maybe it is. We were talking about the isms and sexisms. There are work environments where there are some men who hit on young girls and old girls, and most people say, well, you know how he is, stay away from him, right?
The good old boy system.
Yeah, the good old boy system. So yeah, but removing the emotion would be my first bit of advice for anybody.
Okay, excellent. Thank you, ladies, so much. For those of you who are out there, I hope you're listening to this. This is some great content. And just want to let you know, if you are experiencing this, you're not alone. I want to take just a segue here. If you ladies if you don't want to answer this question or you don't have an answer, it's okay. I know that right now it seems, because a lot of women are breaking the glass ceiling, we're seeing a lot of change. There's a lot more women in the workforce. There are a lot more women in positions of power, especially in healthcare. Listen, CNOs, hello, hey, and I love it. So many more, who are handling budgets, real multi-million-dollar budgets and purse strings and running departments. And it's okay, you ran them anyway before you even hit the workforce by organizing and coordinating all other schedules for all the little people running around. And so those skills transfer. But along those lines too, the downside of that is that people are people, and power corrupts when people aren't sound. And so now, whereas before it was just the good old boy network, when we all had to battle that, now we have some old crazy women out there who are doing these things to men. And so sexism used to be, you didn't have to worry about who the victim of sexism was, but now we're seeing something different. And so what about your sons? If you had sons, and do we laugh at that? Do we trivialize it because it may be happening to a man? One of the things with isms is I love the origins and the patterns and the identifiers. Sometimes we ourselves can be in a pattern where we're operating in an ism ourselves. So what do we say to the guy? Do we laugh at the guy who's being sexually harassed? We've all seen horrible bosses, or maybe we haven't. But what do we say to the young man who he wants to grow in his career as well, and now he's dealing with someone who's in power and is using their power in an absolutely corruptible manner? Boom. Shall I take a commercial and come back and we answer? Yeah. Yeah.
Good question.
Okay. Y'all want to take a couple of seconds?
Well, so
I have two sons.
It is a double standard. And it always has been. So the dad would probably pat the boy on the back and say, yeah, go get it. And the mom would probably shame him out. But again, just as it is with daughters, you want to get the information. I mean, I'm all about having the proper and correct the facts. Let's see what's going on. And then your intuition, along with the intuition and the reality of what's going on in that environment, will help you navigate your son. But no, you don't want your son to be subjected. Help me. What's the right word?
Subjected.
There we go. Thank you.
Subjected. Yes.
Yeah.
Well, one of our sons he went to nursing school, and then he's moved on. Now he's a nurse practitioner. He's done very well for himself, but I feel like he did experience some of those things, especially in his nursing school class in college, because there were 3 guys and 40 something women or girls, we'll say, not to be discriminatory in any way, but he faced for the first time, I think, what women face in other circumstances. And he fortunately was a handsome young man. It still is. Right. But by the same token, as he moved forward in his career, one of the things that I told him was, don't rest on your laurels that you're one of the 3 guys and somebody's going to have to make it, which was one of the thoughts processes in his class, in his nursing class. But do what you know is right. treat other people fairly and expect to be treated fairly. But again, you've got to hold up your end of the bargain. And now when you're in a leadership position later, you need to remember these times.
Wow.
Because we've all felt those times, and we've not. I'm a big proponent and of course, don't think about the here and today and what's happening to you, but think about the big picture and how can I move forward with this? Because especially we were talking about girls earlier, you know, they're up in the air. There's different things that will strike a chord with them than with a young man. But by the same token, it's not just today. It's how are we going to move forward and learn from this?
Wow.
Like the Lion King thing, you know.
Yeah.
Things the past, you can only learn from it.
Right.
Excellent.
Interesting.
Excellent. Ladies, I want to thank you so much. We do have a hot seat question. I am going to take a commercial and going to thank SIPS Consults for sponsoring this. SIPS Consults, CS Assist, and Crunchyrollers. I just want to thank you so much for allowing us to have this platform. And I'm so grateful to y'all for spending your Thursday night with me. I feel like there's so much more that can be said. I just want to go up there. I want to pull so much more out of Melanie. I'm like, man, she has so much to give.
Yeah,
like, yeah, I can see it. I see it moving around in there. Mm-hmm. Everything has been so wonderful. The hot seat question. I only saw like one question here. I did get some things on my phone. Somebody was letting me know they're trying to sign in. So there'll just be more questions for later when we have this meeting again. Thank you so much for fighting for the glass ceiling, for hanging in there when you could have left. I know there's several times you could have just been like, whatever, throwing the towel next. There are other things I could be doing, but thank you because you stayed. That allowed other people to come. Now, the hot seat question is, in your opinion, and I'm asking your opinion, you don't have to match anyone else's. Did the Me Too movement have a credible and or a sustainable impact in your industry, in industries that you've worked in? Did the Me Too movement, did it have a credible impact and did it have a sustainable impact? Because sometimes you can make a lot of noise, but there's not a lot of change, you know? And so, and I'm not saying that's the case here. I want to know, I want to ask you guys that. And I'm going to do a commercial and we'll be back. I'll say probably in about 47 seconds. Let me see what's going on. Here we go. And we're back. And we're back. Me too.
Wow.
Yeah, that's a loaded question.
Yeah, it is.
Well, okay.
I think that it moved the pin just a tiny bit as far as some systemic things in our national environment. But for what I've seen in the energy environment and other areas that I've been in, I've seen some people, if their organization was, if they had a clarion call to women, you know, if that was the minority piece they wanted to look at for women, they have set women up maybe in succession management plans. But I haven't really seen where it has been trickled all the way down to the bottom, so to speak.
Like culture-wise.
Yeah, I think that, like I said, it was a national. We saw it on a national level. Some areas looking systemically in some Fortune 100s, but I haven't really seen it go down past that. And I definitely have not seen it in governmental entities.
Yeah.
Okay. And that's what I said, like within your industry. Because I know like there were some industries it definitely worked in as far as entertainment. In the entertainment industry, it was like, yeah, hey, watch out. The entertainment industry, it rotor-rooted it. It went through there. Good. But there are other industries that I've seen where it's like,
Yeah. I haven't seen a whole lot of needle movement in healthcare when it comes to, you know, Me Too having an impact in the healthcare industry. You know, when Me Too was kind of getting going, we were also dealing with violence against nurses and what that looked like nationally. And, you know, it used to be that you couldn't convict a patient for beating up a nurse. And so we were really engrossed in that. And there wasn't a whole lot of conversation around the Me Too movement, because I don't know that we're really talking about that in healthcare when it comes to our employees. When it comes to our patients, it's always been a conversation. But when it comes to, you know, what's happening with people who are actually boots on the ground working, you know, I haven't seen a whole lot of change when it comes to, you know, people coming out saying, you know, there's been some policy change around, you know, these things. Everybody feels like that sexual harassment training that they have is really, you know, it's doing the job. You know, we've been doing it now for 20, 25 years. It's been a mandate, you know, it's working. And, you know, like anything else, it's going to, it always takes something internally or close to home to occur for us to say, oh, this is a real problem that we need to look at. And we've seen some real problems in healthcare with it. But it's got to hit close to home for your higher ups. And if they don't feel like touching it, you know, the rest of us that are on the trickle down, get touched.
And you have to touch it right. Yeah, you have to touch it right, or it can get really messy. So I definitely understand that on all parts. And you don't, like I said, ladies, you other two ladies, you don't have to answer that. If you want to weigh in, just jump in and interrupt me. If not.
Well, I worked from 2013 to 2018, I worked in a male-dominated industry, electricians, technicians, engineers, and it was good old boy majority male. But what the difference it made that I saw, it was subtle, but they'd be like, "Ooh, I can't say that around you," or it was more of an awareness.
Really?
So, yeah, there was an awareness. It made them stop and have to think or be careful what they said around me or other women. Yeah.
That's fine. It's still going on, just not around you. And you know what? Let me just say, that's probably what all isms. It's going on. So. It's not around you. You know what I'm saying? Hold on.
Yeah.
She's coming. Yes.
Well, they know she didn't play that, so yeah.
That's a good point. Yeah, awareness, but yet actions speak louder than words, and sometimes the actions are not as aware as the words. And that I feel like COVID in the healthcare industry has had more of an effect on almost what the Me Too movement was standing for, because we can't touch each other now. I mean, you think about think about it. Like,
yeah, that's interesting.
It's strange how the world works and how things happen, but you know, it was an action speaks louder than words thing, as far as I'm concerned, especially in the areas I'm in, the OR, that people are just very touchy-feely, and it's hard to discern sometimes what the good touch is from the bad touch. Yeah. But with COVID, nobody touches. Yeah. So it's just an interesting analogy, I guess.
No, that's powerful. That's really powerful. And that COVID has probably corrected a lot of things that we had an opportunity to self-correct or auto-correct and didn't. You know, because I think, no one's touching my hair. You know, no one's touching my hair without permission. That's 6 feet. Yeah, you're right. You're right.
Yeah. And you don't feel uncomfortable telling people to stay away, because now it's okay to say it.
No one's in your space leaning over you, and you're like, is this a right lean or a wrong lean?
Yeah.
Like, you know, am I typing? Should I just hit enter? Like, yeah, you're right. That's really good. That's powerful. That made me think a little bit there. Thank you. All right. Hey, That's it, ladies. We're actually 4 minutes over. Thank you so much. Thanks again for your time.
Thank
Yay
you.
for all of y'all
Thank
who are
you.
smashing glass ceilings. Please keep doing it. Please keep doing it. Please keep empowering people. You know, take a break when you need to take a break. Take a drink some orange juice if you need to drink some orange juice, whatever.
Whatever.
Water.
Yeah, okay. Everybody has a cup, right? Just whatever. Yeah, whatever it is. And please get back. Please give back. Let's keep finding a way to help not only our young ladies, but also holding maybe some of our colleagues accountable when we see foolishness. You know, just because you're a female doesn't mean you get to do it to a male. You know, it's wrong. Wrong is wrong. Wrong is wrong in any shade, any color, any creed. Just wrong is wrong. So please keep doing what you're doing. I'm going to sign off with a legacy versus inheritance video. Feel free to stay if you'd like to stay. The video is about 90 seconds. The public won't see you anymore, but feel free to hang out right here backstage if you like, or, you know, have a great night. It's up to you. Thanks so much for listening. Please share this video. This is knowledge or nonsense.
Today I want to talk to you about inheritance versus legacy. Inheritance versus legacy. Those are two separate things. Inheritance is what you leave behind. Legacy is who you leave behind. Inheritance is your life insurance policy. Inheritance is your house. Inheritance is your car. Inheritance is your money. When I die, my wife dies, my children, my grandchildren will have an inheritance. And I think that's a wonderful thing that every responsible person tries to leave an inheritance for their family. But that's different from leaving a legacy. A legacy is who you're going to leave behind. Who will say, he believed in me? Who will say, he gave me an opportunity? Who will say, when I was down, he picked me up? Who will say, he loaned me his credibility? Who will say, he invested in my life? Who will say that I'm here because of him? As good as inheritance is, it'll go away. The house will break down. The car will break down. Something will burn up. This will go away. This will live on. This is your legacy. The question is not, which one should I do? The question is, I know you're working on your inheritance, but I also want you to work on your legacy so you can leave an inheritance as well as a legacy.